Hasbro made a thing, and I want to talk about it and do so while shooting some smartphone pics. Let's do this. What we have here, of course, is a spoiler as to what this video is about. It is the G.I. Joe classified HasLab HISS Tank. Now, what a HasLab is, if you're unaware, is it's kind of a crowdfund that's put together by Hasbro. This one made it, and all the tiers were matched, so personally, I think what we got in this box is very much worth it, and I never talk about the design on these boxes, and this one, it nailed it. Look at those red prints, and let's be honest, you can't go wrong with a red and black combination. Of course, the HISS comes with instructions and a sticker sheet. Now, where the instructions are concerned, I find that looking at images of the HISS online are a lot more helpful when it comes to putting it together, but these are good for finding the button that turns on the lights on the HISS tank. And then there's the sticker sheet here. Stickers all over it that I'm never going to use because I'm too worried about maybe hurting my glorious HISS tank. So what I'd like to see in the future is for the designers at Classified to just figure out where these kinds of things go and do it themselves. Guys, I think I can speak for the majority of the Classified community when I say, we trust your design eye. Just do this yourself, please. Now, before we get into the tank, I'm going to talk about the figures. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the HISS Tank driver, which is a wonderful homage to the HISS Tank driver that came with the HISS Tank in 1983. Just zooming in, checking him out. Think he looks good. In fact, I got to take a picture. Now you can see, checking the HISS Tank driver out here, that he's got a glossy helmet, he has a glossy chest armor, he has glossy gauntlets, he has glossy boots. Pretty much everything else on this figure is matte, and that's the same across the board for the other figures that come in this set as well. Except for one that I haven't opened, but we'll get to him a little later. So right now I'm just showing off a little bit of the detail. Obviously you can see the articulation going on in the arms. The sculpt in the boots is pretty insane, but here we are with as much ab crunch as you can get, which is a little disappointing, but now that image showed about how much side bend you can get out of this guy at the waist. There's his pistol, and his last two accessories are this fist hand, which is kind of a crazy gauntlet, and a trigger finger hand. Now what we have here is the HISS Tank gunner, who has the same details as the HISS Tank driver, but she's got a much cooler gun. Now what I appreciate about her is she and the driver both have the same uniform, so you can swap them out. She can drive if you want her to drive, he can drive if you want him to drive. Either one can hold the gun, but man, she looks so good that... And the detailed look continues on this incredibly cool figure. I'm a big fan. I don't know why. I just checking this thing out. There's something about the articulation scheme that the G.I. Joe Classified team gives the female figures that just, it's worked since almost the beginning. They gave them the bicep cut and everything, and that made a huge difference. But what really made the huge difference for me was the double jointed elbows, and ever since that very first wave, or those first groups with Scarlet and Baroness, they've gone in and they've really corrected that. So you can see here, there's all kinds of detail. It's all the same, all the good stuff that you can get from the HISS Tank driver, but she's got much cooler accessories. But I have to say, as much as I love the articulation on the Classified female figures, that's as much as we can get out of the waist to the side, so that's sad. And now this is as much as we can get out of the waist going forward. Also sad. So yeah, I'd like to see him fix that in an engineering meeting maybe one day. That'd be nice. Now there's her pistol, and now we scroll down to all of her accessories, which again are insane and very cool. The third figure is the Cobra HISS Tactician, but he's special. You'll notice we have a signature on the box there. Now, whose signature is that? That's one Mr. Ron Rudat. Turns out, Ron Rudat, pretty big deal. So just how big of a deal was Ron Rudat anyway? Well, he basically helped come up with an action figure design process, which in my head is nuts. But apparently it worked because he went crazy designing all kinds of things for G.I. Joe, including this Cobra logo. Now, what you should do is head over to 3djoes.com and look him up and read the huge article they have about him. But if you don't feel like doing that, at least read this file card. He was the basis for Leatherneck. You're not checking out Leatherneck's file card here, though. You're looking at Ron Rudat's, and it is one impressive resume. Fittingly, Rudat's signature appears on the G.I. Joe Classified Series figure number 100, which is perfect. But this color scheme wasn't come upon by accident. Rudat actually put together 6 different color schemes that the fans got to vote on when it came to the Cobra HISS Tactician. Now, you can see from the box and this image which one won, which, let's be honest, was the only correct choice. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is the G.I. Joe Classified Series figure number 100, the Cobra HISS Tactician. And here is the HISS Tank Tactician. He's a repaint of the HISS Tank driver, but I have to say, I think these colors work exceptionally well on him. And because he's a repaint, he's going to have the same movement details and all that. Some things are going to get called out differently, like the stuff in gray, just it kind of shows up. The detail in the gray shows up a little more than, say, the detail in the red on the HISS Tank driver, which I really think looks really good. It's just that medium gray, kind of a medium to darkish. And because he's a repaint, he has the same limitations when it comes to the waist crunch, although that's not bad. And then when it comes to this gloved hand, the fist, that thing kind of pops off when you're moving things at the elbow, so just look out for that. It pops back on easy enough, so it's not that big a deal. Now, I figured I better put him in provocative pose because I did that with the HISS Tank Gunner. In fact, the HISS Tank Tactician has the same weapons as the HISS Tank Driver, just in different colors, which I gotta say, they work really well. Ooh, slow pan. Yeah! And here are the 3 of them all together, looking all evil and dastardly and stuff, looking like a crew that you do not want to mess with. You do not want to come across these people if you are indeed on the side of the Joes, because I have a very bad feeling they will mess you up, especially that HISS Tank Gunner, because that is one wicked gun. And for the last figure in the set, we have Cobra Commander, still in package, and I'm not a guy that does the whole mint on card thing. Okay, hear me out. Now, the reason that I'm keeping Cobra Commander all boxed up is because I want to see what Hasbro releases with the inevitable repaint of this Cobra Commander. If that Cobra Commander doesn't come with a bunch of extra accessories, specifically hands, then I'm going to hold on to this one so I can crack it open and use those hands for that Cobra Commander because I'm a hands guy. Which sounds way weirder than I intended it to. And now here's the back of Cobra Commander's card, complete with file card, so prepare for a screen grab in 3, 2... In case this is your first time here, Toypixx is all about action figure photography, so scan the QR code that's up on the screen now and get your free action figure photography guide, which also signs you up for the Toypixx newsletter so you can keep up with all things Toypixx. Now, back to the video. Alright, the first thing I'm going to talk about are the things that come with the HISS that I don't currently have on the HISS, and those would be, so far, these side panels that go inside the treads. They're kind of tread panels. What I have on there instead are these fancy ones, because I'm not all 80s all the time. Speaking of not being all 80s all the time, this is the canopy cover I would use if I wanted the HISS to look like the 83 version. Now, it's made of translucent plastic, just as the one I currently have on there, and we all know that's brittle. The other one was tough to put on, so I am not going to gamble by putting this one on, but look at that thing. Man, it's pretty. And then there's this thing. It's cool. I have no idea what it is. It's like maybe a Cobra Trooper could hide behind it, but yeah, I got nothing. So if you know what this is, do me a solid and let me know in the comments. Man, making something like this takes a bit. Fortunately, there's beveraging. And now, here's the HISS tank in all its HISS tank glory. I gotta tell ya, I think this thing looks real good. I think it's well worth the price of admission. So I suppose I better start breaking down all the details for all of you at this point. Just know it's fun. Here's a look at the missile pod that attaches on the side near the rear. It's got 6 missiles. They're all removable, which is highly cool. And here's the telescoping feature. Check that out. I figure it pops out like that when it needs to really fire off a missile, and there you go. They come off that easily. Such good thinking when it came to designing this thing. And here is how you insert the missile pod. You just lift this little cover, you grab the missile pod, and you just snap it in there. Now make sure it's snapped in very securely, otherwise it'll just kind of hang there. And this is the part of the video where I swap out the tread panel for probably the only time I'll ever do that in the life of this HISS tank, because, man, I dig this classified look. But if you like the classic style, then it's pretty easy peasy. Just unhook the other one, snap this one in, and you're good to go. Here we have the underside of the HISS tank, and there's the button you press to make the lights work. And as we go down a little further, you're going to find the battery compartment. Now, I've heard the screw is kind of tough on some of these to loosen, so just be aware of that. Mine was fine, but you know how it is. Your mileage may vary. And now, just checking out a nice 3/4 view of this thing. It is wonderful. I'm so stoked to have it. You have no idea, except I've talked about it to the point where you probably do. Now here's the front of the tank. I'm just kind of going to go over each side, noticing all the detail, trying to get everything lit up real nice. Check out the rivets. Check out the Cobra sigil going on there. Very, very nice detail that they put into this thing. Now we've got a little more of a 3/4 shot, just chilling. Look at those missiles on that side. Ooh, they're ready to go. We've got ladder, we've got the guns trained, we got the back of this bad boy. Another Cobra logo, detail, rivets, diagonals, all the things. You got lights back there. Here's the gunner's station. Little pit in there where she stands. Quality, you got the handles right there as well that she'll hold on to when she fires those bad boys. Now here's where the HISS tank gunner hangs out. Now the instructions showed me how to put all that redness together, but it was already together when I got it. Anyway, there's all those details on the guns. And now here comes the classified canopy complete with gull wing side panels. Check this out. Whoa, that's cool. Now look at how well that headrest is sculpted, and it's got the Cobra logo. This is quality stuff. Another quick look at the interior here, where I'm fairly convinced that no detail was left undetailed. There's the screen our HISS tank driver will be checking out as he drives this bad boy. You got even color buttons, man. This is insane. The other side's pretty close to the same, but there you see the shifter. Oh, it's fancy. But look at that. Truly, I don't think they left any detail undetailed, which is a weird way of saying that, but check out that screen even. Ooh, I love this thing. Remember what I said about no detail left undetailed? Look at this. I can even move the shifter around. Here's the 5-point harness again, and check this out. All you have to do is unsnap it from the back there to make it so you can slide your HISS tank driver in. Oh, and Didn't want to miss that you can mess with this thing as well. These front-mounted guns go in pretty much every direction you can think of. We got up, we got down, we got left, and we got right. So, how does everyone feel about me explaining basic directions? And now we're checking out one of the ladders. The other side has the same thing. Now, do as much as you can at the base of the ladder because it snaps into place and feels like it could get a little fragile with time. You pull the missile pod out, you push the missile pod in, you tip the missile pod back, and you put it back in place. These huge guns are super clicky, so hold them closer to the joint than I did when you're messing with them. And with these smaller guns, you got a little up, and that's about it. They don't turn because the whole turret turns, so what exactly would be the point? And what adult collector doesn't want working treads with their tank? Seriously, working treads! Now this trailer hitch pops down, this panel pops up, and guess what? There's a reason. You'll see here that what you do now is you grab it, and you pull back the back door, that red light turns on. Ooh, very cool stuff. You can't really see it all that well, though. That's a fault of the lighting, so how about I make an adjustment? There we go. Now, one of the things I really dig about this thing is how bright the lights are. Like that red, that's red, and there's no mistaking what's going on in there. That is a bright red light that's showing all the things. Imagine sitting back there as the tactician. But if you're not the tactician and you need a little more or a little less legroom, the designers even accounted for that, and they accounted for weapon storage. Yay, gun rack. All right, I've got some guns in there. Let's see if I can show off a little and put another one in. Ooh, here's the gunner's gun. Now, I forgot to show you the drum pops off, so you can do that. And now, getting fancy, getting fancy. Oh, steady hand, Dave. Boom shakalaka! Kind of. That's not, convincing. Now you push it once, you get that. Then you wait a minute, because it took me a while to remember I could push it again. Twice. There's 3 times. There's number 4. Number 5. Number 6. 7. 8. And that's it. Oh, and it also lights up the canopy and puts this awesome Cobra logo on the ground. Truly, as a photographer, one of the things I really love, look at how bright these headlights are. I mean, that thing is a light source for action figure photography. Ooh, hello, driver. And now I'm just going to go through a bunch of photos because this thing just blew my mind. Now remember, these are all smartphone pics, and I shot them with an iPhone 13 Pro. So it's an older iPhone, not ancient, but it's a little older. So you should be able to do all this with whatever phone you've got as well. It's not that tough, and it's a whole lot of fun. The big secret for me is portrait mode, my friends. That is key. So my final thoughts on this HISS tank? It is 110% worth what I paid when I backed it way back when. I would even go so far as to say if you didn't back it, you might want to go in and try and find it at a slightly elevated aftermarket price. Don't let the scalpers totally tank you. And if you don't see it at just a slightly elevated price, maybe just wait a little bit. It'll probably come back down because a lot of these things sold. So if you're into action figure photography, truly, I think you want this thing. If you're into G.I. Joe, you pretty much need this thing. And if you're into pop culture in general, this would be a great thing to add to your collection. Now do me a solid and let me know in the comments, what do you think of it? Did you back it? Is there anything about it that you wish that I'd paid a little more attention to? Because these are all things I need to know so I can get better at this whole YouTube thing. And now, For all you people who've been watching for a while, and for all the newcomers, it's time for today's Toypixx photo of the day. Today is Wolverine Wednesday, so of course I had to throw up a picture featuring the old Knucklehead, but I thought I'd bring around a few of his friends from 2023 as well. It was a real simple setup, just standing the people up around him, using the lights, lighting them up with fairly dull light, nothing too crazy, and then lighting the top of Wolverine with what I have on my phone, which is an app called the Best Nightlight app. I just used straight up white light, kept it above him, shot the picture. And it is a little simpler setup than I tend to do because, frankly, I've been working a lot on this thing. So that's what happened there. Still, scan that QR code, head over to Twitter, and comment with your own photo of the old Knucklehead himself, and I'll catch you over there. And now it's time for today's Patreon freebie. Longtime viewers of Toypixx know that when I say Patreon freebie, it's actually redundant because everything I post on Patreon is free. So head over to the Toypixx Patreon page, pick a tier, any tier. There's even a free tier. And now, today's Patreon freebie is this wallpaper that I created with the hiss entirely in mind. I started thinking, what kind of sky would you have when the hiss is barreling down at you? And what kind of terrain would you not want to be on when this high-speed sentry, hence hiss, haha, I know acronyms, comes flying your way? And well, that's basically anything flat. So we've got the ominous sky, we've got the flat sand, all the things to make the HISS tank especially scary. But it doesn't just have to work for the HISS tank. You could have an army just marching across that desert sand. And it's something that if you're on the opposing side, you're not going to want to deal with. So, if you dig this digital download, go ahead and scan that QR code, head over to the Patreon page, download it for yourself, put it on your desktop, put it on a portable monitor, whatever you have, stand your figures in front of it, light them up, and get to shooting. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for this one. So as always, thanks a ton for stopping by and taking the time to check out the video, especially if you've made it this far. And until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.